Getting in some breaking inputs right now. The Supreme Court has begun to live stream its constitution bench proceedings from today, and the hearing of pleas challenging the reservation for the economically weaker sections and the row over control of services between the centre and the Delhi government will be the first regular webcast. Let's listen.
Certificates to the students. And therefore, my Lord, under those circumstances, it was essential that there should be uniformity to be brought about. All these should have to be equalized to find out as to whether the minimum standards have been maintained by the law schools. There are 1,710 after removal of 500. There are 1,710 Milords law schools today. Milords, during my time in 1952, when I went to a law college, at that time, Milords, this was a last resort because I tried to get into the engineering college. I couldn't. I failed.
That's good. That's good AD for this profession.
You first Milord, try your chance, Milord, in the medical colleges. That was the one which was the ultimate ambition of any student who had graduated from the 12th. Thereafter, Milord, engineering. If you failed in both, the law colleges always had enough seats. You just go in and apply and take your seat. Now, secondly, Milords, after during those years, unless you had a godfather, because there was no examination, or even if there was no Milord training, unless you had a godfather, you would start wandering around, especially in the rural areas. So far as they are concerned, for the first time graduate in law, he would not be able to find a senior before whom he could practice even in his official area or the rural areas. And therefore, it is only if you had an uncle or a father or a relative or a friend that you would be able to, Milords, even get into the profession and be able to learn what is happening in the courts. Now, of course, with the national law schools and so on, the entire scenario has changed.
Some of the best students the National Law School has produced.
Yes, yes.
The best students. So it's become a changeover in terms of a priority. People leave other things and join law.
Today, Milord,
The option.
today the lawyers make mostly, other than perhaps in the rural areas, and they are quite well off. There was a report in 1984 by N. Madhav Menon. He had not been interested by the Bar Council of India to find out the status of the lives of lawyers in the Tamil Nadu state. And he went throughout the state. And he came out with a very depressing picture. So far as 1984, so far as most of the lawyers in the official are concerned, they were carrying on agriculture or other operations because otherwise they would not be able to earn enough. And the average income was 1,000 rupees a month, which is perhaps the BPL level practically. And therefore they resorted to doubts and they resorted to illegal practices, some or other to get some amount of practice. Now all that is gone. Today, the law colleges stand on the same footing as medical colleges or engineering colleges.
Mr. Venugopal, one caveat. See, when we talk about the national law colleges, that is the position. You yourself said we have many colleges spread across the country. There is no consistency in the sense that, say, Tamil Nadu has one of the least number of colleges.
The Ambedkar College is very good.
But the number of colleges are still small compared to...
Yes.
You go to some adjacent states and suddenly the jump is 10. UP has grown 50, the population is there.
All right, let's try and get the latest and a sense of perspective in terms of how crucial this new beginning for the Supreme Court is. And for that, I'm joined in by our legal correspondent, Ananya Bhattagar, on the phone line. Ananya, today is indeed a historic day, not just for the Apex Court, but for the entire country, as we all know that this is the first time that 3 of the Constitution benches are now live streaming, and this is just the beginning of more live streams to come.
Well, definitely, Akansha, it's a historic day when it comes to the Indian judicial system, the Indian legal system, because it is first time ever that the constitution benches of the topmost court of the country, which are hearing matters of national importance, whether we talk of the EWS reservation, whether we talk of the Maharashtra political fiasco that has emerged out, and the validity of the 10th schedule of the constitution. It is a very, very historic moment in India, because it's for the first time that we are seeing live streaming from our homes. In fact, people can watch these matters of national importance sitting at their homes. And in fact, it is something that is taking the judiciary forward. This is a leap of faith. In fact, it's a big leap that has been taken by the Indian judiciary. Remember that this decision was passed last week in a full court meeting of all of the judges of the topmost court of the country, wherein it is unanimously it was passed that matters of constitutional and national importance can be live streamed. And today we see a new beginning, a new era of the Indian judiciary and the Indian legal system, where live streaming of court proceedings have now begun. We are moving towards a technologically advanced judiciary and justice delivery system, and this would not only be a big, in fact, a big development when it comes to the legal system, but also it would bring in transparency and would connect people to courts. Because remember, since the very beginning, people are afraid of going to courts. People fear from the courts, but then there's another perspective to it, that people have the faith in the judicial system. So now it will bridge that gap of faith and fear, and definitely it is a big move forward by the Supreme Court, saying that live proceedings of the Supreme Court can now be live streamed and can be watched sitting at home itself. Akansha.
Absolutely, Ananya. And there are two sides to this coin, because many critics have also voiced and raised concerns around the whole impact of live streaming and what kind of impact it will have on the judges, as well as on those who will be dealing with the cases and part of the cases. If you could throw more light on the rationale and the concerns that surround the whole issue of live streaming.
Well, definitely there were many concerns that were cited, that there would be in fact, the criticism of the judges for their comments or their questions during these hearings. And in fact, this is not the first time, though, that live streaming is happening in the Indian judicial system. It all began with the Gujarat High Court. Then we also heard, in fact, the Karnataka hijab matter, when it was before the Karnataka High Court, it was live streamed. And in fact, there are criticisms, there are another side to it, but we have to remember that this is a big leap forward in Indian judicial system, where transparency is being brought in, and there are more advantages to it than the disadvantages, and hence this decision was taken consciously and very consciously in a full court meeting by all of the judges. The development came in after senior advocate Indira Jaising had actually written a letter that these constitution benches should be live streamed, and following which the judges actually accorded to it and said that it would be allowed. And now we are witnessing a new era of the Indian judiciary. Akansha.
Absolutely. Many thanks to you, Ananya, for bringing in all those details. Indeed, a huge historic day for the Constitution of India, as well as for the Apex Court and the entire country, as we are bringing to you the first time those live proceedings coming all the way from the Supreme Court. Many cases now will be broadcast, while some will also be withheld in terms of broadcasting rights when it comes to matrimonial matters or even matters of national security. They, of course, will not be broadcast, but several others of ample significance are going to be matters which will be broadcast live by the Supreme Court. And with that, let's now quickly shift our attention over to some breaking